Ay, Baran! Hele mi rog me Skажи ти, Baran! Скажи ти, Baran! Ана! Скажи ти, Baran!
Так нельзя.
Скажи ти, Baran!
Это не по-мужской.
Ана!
Это не по-мужской.
Скажи ти, Baran! Это не мужское, блядь!
The footage you just witnessed were from recent peaceful protests that took place in various parts of the world, such as the United States, Europe, and the UK. Those protests were for Nagorno Karabakh. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a rather serious topic because I feel like the mainstream media has managed to only get one side of the story, and that is the Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict. This topic can be very touchy for many, and I understand that. Many people still have relatives that have died or that have suffered through the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, since it was not so long ago. 28 years is not a long time. And I feel like, as an Indian citizen that has been living in Azerbaijan and has been recognized by the Azerbaijani people, I feel like it is my duty to use my platform in order to educate people in regards to the topic, while also shedding light on Azerbaijan's side of the story. On the 12th of July 2020, Armenian armed forces ceased fire on Azerbaijan's Tovuz region. Now this was extremely surprising to many because Tovuz was not a part of the Azerbaijan-Armenia dispute. During the Tovuz attacks, 14 Azerbaijanis lost their lives. Two senior officers, Major General Polat Hamishov and Colonel Ilgar Mirzayev, both lost their lives on that day. It was the first time in Azerbaijani history that we had lost someone of that ranking in the military due to Armenians. Since the Tovuz attacks, several Azerbaijanis from all over the country came together to peacefully protest. Now, I know that the mainstream media has been trying to skew this entire protest in a certain way to make it seem like that everybody in Azerbaijan is an aggressor and that they want to do nothing but kill all Armenians. It is just that we, without doing anything in the middle of a pandemic, got hit. Therefore, our people decided to go on the streets and state that yes, we will go in for war if needed. Now, as per usual, I would like to give you guys a quick history lesson in regards to what started this Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict. Now, right off the bat, I would like to mention that I have tried my level best to use international sources only. Because yes, even though I am someone that has a soft corner for Azerbaijan because it's my home, I do want to stick to my integrity because I want people to manage to make their own conclusions. So the conflict began in 1917 when the Russian Empire fell. During the fall of the Russian Empire, both Armenia and Azerbaijan claimed their independence, and then they started to have disputes over land. One of the lands that they disputed over was indeed Nagorno Karabakh way back in the day, and they basically went into war because of that. However, once the Soviet Union was formed, the USSR needed to placate different state powers and ethnicities. Now this resulted in the Soviet Union promising Azerbaijan's land, Nagorno Karabakh, to Armenia. The USSR gave Nagorno Karabakh a title as NKAO, which stood for Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Oblast, which basically means that Nagorno Karabakh was an island that belonged to the Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan. Prior to the war that began in 1988, both Azerbaijanis and Armenians live together in peace. Now, something I would like to note is that regardless of the fact that Nagorno Karabakh always belonged to Azerbaijan, a vast majority of its inhabitants were of Armenian descent, due to Armenians being relocated because of Peter the Great's Caspian campaign that he started in 1724. Not only that, but the Treaty of Turkmenchai is another reason why several Armenians were relocated from their country to Azerbaijan, Georgia, and other parts of the Soviet Union. Now, what was the Treaty of Turkmenchai? The Treaty of Turkmenchai was an agreement to put an end to the Russo-Persian War. So this led to the formation of Armenian autonomy within several regions of Azerbaijan. So yeah, that is why we have a lot of Armenians living in Nagorno Karabakh right now. So because of the vast majority of Armenians that resided in Nagorno Karabakh, this resulted in several Armenian nationalists hitting the streets to basically protest and say that they no longer want to be under Azerbaijan's control. They created a petition in which thousands of Armenians signed it that they want to be independent from Azerbaijan. This resulted in the USSR beginning the transfer of lands from Azerbaijan to Armenia. Now, it is said that Azerbaijan was unaware of the talks between Armenia and Russia. Now, initially the transfer was peaceful, but as time progressed, they said that it got much more violent. So remember when I mentioned that the USSR titled Nagorno Karabakh as NKAO? Well, in 1991, Armenia started to classify Nagorno Karabakh as NKR, which stood for Nagorno Karabakh Republic. Now, Nagorno Karabakh Republic, now known as Artsakh by many Armenians, is basically a de facto state, which means that nobody on this planet, not even Armenia, can recognize it as an independent country. Now, the renaming of NKAO to NKR, in my opinion, was the final nail in the coffin that resulted in a bloody war between Armenia and Azerbaijan for the second time. Approximately 750,000 Azerbaijanis were displaced from their homes. They weren't driven from Nagorno Karabakh alone, but from other Azerbaijani territories that Armenia had seized. It is said that nearly 300,000 Armenians were also displaced from their homes in Azerbaijan. On the 25th of February 1992, one of Azerbaijan's most gruesome attacks occurred. Armenian armed forces entered Khojaly city and attacked innocent Azerbaijani civilians that resided there. They mass fired using artillery weapons and military equipment on the civilians of Khojaly city. The attacks began in the evening and continued up until 5 a.m. By the end of the attack, the whole city was on fire. Nearly 2,500 Azerbaijanis were forced to leave their houses and they ran, hoping that they can reach Aghdam. Aghdam was a district that was mainly populated by Azerbaijanis. Unfortunately, many of them did not make it there, and 613 Azerbaijanis brutally lost their lives. Followed by the Khojaly massacre, Armenia kind of went on a spree where they just kept on taking over different parts of Azerbaijan. By May of 1991, they took over Shusha. By May of 1992, they took over Lachen. By April of 1993, they took over Kalbajar. By July of 1993, they took over Aghdam. By August of 1993, they took over Fizuli, Jabrail and Gubadlı. And finally, in October of 1993, they took over Zangilan. In April of 2016, something pretty big happened yet again. There was a 4-day-long war that resulted in 93 Azerbaijanis being brutally killed. It is also said that 84 Armenian soldiers also lost their lives. And that brings us to the present day. Now, since the events that occurred in Tovuz, several media outlets from both Azerbaijan and Armenia started to report on their side of the story. However, it seems that the Armenians have managed to reach more wider international sources and have managed to get their side of the story out there. A very well-renowned page known as Shit You Should Care About on Instagram literally posted this, and then they turned off their comments because they were getting a lot of flack from Azerbaijani folk, rightfully so, because they are, you guessed it, spreading misinformation. They literally got their information from an Armenian that mainly used Armenian sources in order to back up his claims. And now some of you might even be like, oh my god, Anjana, like, it's just a random page on Instagram. I beg to differ. They have 1.4 million followers on Instagram. They are spreading one-sided information, and that is extremely toxic for a woke page to go on with this rhetoric to spread misinformation to thousands of their followers. I want to share a short discussion that I had with my 7th grade English teacher, Miss Ayan Alieva. And basically, the reason I wanted to interview Miss Ayan is because she is somebody that has not only acquired her degree from the United Kingdom, she has spent a vast amount of her time in the UK, in the United States, and in different parts of Europe. And therefore, I decided to talk to her to get her point of view on this topic. I came up with a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you. So the first question that I have is, what has your reaction been since the recent aggression?
Right. The reaction, first of all, of course, it's quite emotional. It's quite emotional because it has been for 30 years. You know, we're one of the countries who has more than 1 million refugees. People were literally drawn out from their houses. I lived in the neighborhood in my childhood. I lived in the neighborhood where a lot of refugees from Agdam, one of the villages, would come. They didn't want to find themselves in Baku. Many people said, oh, they have to return to their lands. Where? Return where? My personal reaction at the beginning was very emotional, but what I want to everyone, all young and like elderly people, to understand that attacking verbally would not work. We have to reach out, basically attacking them with facts, with international facts. Number one, what we should let everyone know and what we should spread, that all countries all over the world, UNDP, and all possible resolutions, conflict resolutions, recognize Nagorno Karabakh and 20% occupied 20% as inseparable lands, inseparable part of Azerbaijan Republic.
Yeah.
Number two, the question, if this is Azerbaijan, if these lands officially recognized by all the world belong to Azerbaijan, what are they doing on our lands? Why are the lands still under occupation? So once we explain these two things, the rest would be obvious.
And that brings me to the next question as someone that is currently residing in the United States, have your surroundings shown interest towards the conflict?
Of course. But again, it's only if I speak out loud. So basically, I started campaign on all platforms. You know, I have good number of followers on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere. And as an educator, as a person who empowers women, as a women and girls education ambassador, I have got like good audience, both international and local. And I have started a couple of campaigns and petitions even to explain, mostly in America right now, what is the conflict. And here, if at the beginning I said I was emotional, here I'm trying to be very, very cool. I mean, cold-minded, very purpose-oriented, very diplomatic, but at the same time, I want them to hear the truth.
Yeah.
So the way I start my conversation, imagine that 20% of America is United States is occupied by Russia. Who is the aggressor? Of course, their answer is Russia. And of course, I win here, I win their heart, their trust, and I sound persuasive.
As you mentioned, you're trying to educate them yourself by explaining everything to them. But the ones that come to you with no knowledge, um, what sources did you get an understanding of what kind of sources they used? Did they use biased sources towards Armenia, or did they use like international sources?
Well, first of all, I want you to really understand, you and everyone listening to us, that they don't care what kind of sources they use. They don't really use sources. They're not really worried about what's happening, right? So here it is who creates trustworthy sources and who speaks out loud.
Yeah.
For an average American, getting information about who beated who in LA. So if someone comes on TV, just like that Armenian girl comes on TV and says that Azeri people beated Armenians, American would believe in that. So the answer to your question, yes, they use biased Armenian sources because these are the only sources existing. What I am calling out and shouting out to all Azerbaijanis living abroad, and especially in America, is to act up right now, act out. Go, your voice should be heard. Go talk about it, write articles about it, have access to, I don't know, to the TV, to some online resources. We have to be more active in spreading out the truth.
Miss Ayan, since you also lived in the United Kingdom and you studied there and so on and so forth, was the reaction towards the Nagorno Karabakh conflict the same in the UK as it is in the United States?
I'll tell you more. When I was studying in United Kingdom, I once got a very impartial group of people. I mean, we were several international students, and there were people from India, Pakistan, from all over, from Eastern Europe, from all over the world. And one of the guys was like, I'm sorry, but Azerbaijani did something really hostile towards Armenia. And I'm like, what was that? Hojalı. And I'm like, seriously? Hojalı. Imagine.
Wow.
Imagine. So what I basically did, I called to the embassy. I got a lot of CDs with Hojalı at my university, and in all clubs. I made a lot of people come and played that Hojalı videos. I just proved that it was their crime against Azerbaijanis. But imagine how low they are and how low they play. So they are ready to use their crimes, saying that it was Azerbaijani crimes against Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
My fair fathers are noblemen from Yerevan. I can actually, I'll send you the photo of my great grandfather. He was a bey in Yerevan Khanlık. So basically what happened, Tsarskaya Russia showed pressure. We all understand that. All right, let me put it openly. Armenia and Azerbaijan, unfortunately, are both very weak compared to Russia. And Russia uses this conflict as a power leverage.
Absolutely.
It's Russia's power leverage. So basically, in 1918, Russia showed huge pressure to Azerbaijan and kindly asked them to give Yerevan to Armenia. But it was my fair father's land. I'll show you. I come from there.
Okay.
I mean, my fair fathers come from there. And we had to really give it to them. And the agreement was, we will give Yerevan, and they would never, ever want any piece of our land. But what happens next? Nagorno Karabakh happens next, and now 20% of lands.
Absolutely.
So, but it was always a huge game of Russia, and I'm not afraid to just say it. There is this authenticity of personality in the West. People don't want to be fooled, because for an average American, an average British, an average European, again, an average, impartial average, right? Not brainwashed or having connections to Armenians or taking part, you know what I mean? Taking sides. So they want to hear the truth. and the truth is here, and it's obvious, and it's 2 plus 2, as easy as it is.
Yeah.
So my advice is, first, again, you know, when they say change the world, start from yourself. Have you heard it? I think we even talked about it during our lessons when I was teaching you. So basically, if you want to change the world, start from yourself. If you want to be heard, start from yourself. And I applaud your initiative, Anjana, what you're doing right now. You started from yourself. You didn't think that I'm small, I don't have 100K followers, I'll just do it. You reached out, I agreed. Start from yourself. Basically, start from your small platforms. Educate your international friends. Maybe call them for a Zoom meeting and just speak out.
Well, then Miss Ayan, I won't take more of your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of my video. I will send you the link once it's ready. And
Sure.
yes, thank you so much. It was so great talking to you. I hope to talk to you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. I'm very proud of you. You have to know it. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Miss
you.
Ayan. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I believe due to the Armenian lobby being so prominent in the United States, they are able to skew information in a way that would suit their narrative. This country is beautiful. We have so much to offer. We have developed, we are developing, and we are learning to progress. Of course, it's not portrayed on mainstream television because they must be thinking that this is just another Muslim country. But it's not. Azerbaijan is so much more. So I hope I could give you a slight insight into this entire conflict, and I hope that you are staying safe. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
They never told